The MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship is on deck. Round 7 of 9 for 2020 MotoAmerica Superbikes at Alabama from Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama, with a beautiful view of the Barber Vintage Motorsports Museum, the attraction here at Barber Motorsports Park. Hi, everyone. I'm Greg White, standing alongside Jason Pridmore, two-time world champion, and we're setting the stage for Supersport, where Richie Escalante, who's leading this championship on a Honus Kawasaki, is the dominant rider.
Yeah, no question. And yesterday, he dominated again. Now, there was a big early battle between our two favorites for that championship, Richie Escalante and Sean Dillon Kelly. But it was this man here that proved to have the pace yesterday. And if you look back at the highlights, Greg, it looked like it started off really good for STK. Sean Dillon Kelly right in the middle gets the whole shot down into turn 1. And Escalante ended up getting past him, but as they went down into turn 5 the first time, STK stuffed it back underneath them. Brandon Posh went through. Very similar to what we saw at Jersey, but this was the story. These two guys went back and forth at each other. They passed in some different places. They passed in the same places. This one here going up into turn 2 for Escalante. Very committed pass. And STK, this is really one of the, we've been seeing these guys bumping and barging a little bit. Yeah. Neither one of them talk about it. Neither one of them complain. Escalante went back underneath him in the last corner after it was done to him earlier. This guy, Aguilar, ends up 3rd overall yesterday, but Escalante dominated out front, pulled away by some 10 seconds.
So a nice win for Richie Escalante, but Jason Aguilar has been a very interesting topic. He's a champion in 600 Supersport back in 2017. He's very fast, Jason, but for a guy like Aguilar, it's been a bit of an up and down season. We put this together because we wanted to show you. He's had 3 third-place finishes this year, but if you look at that flat line, those P4s, it started to look like the stock market the last couple of rounds.
Yeah, it did. And he went to his place that I'm sure if you go down and talk to Jason, he's not a big fan of New Jersey Motorsports Park, and you can see that P9 and P8. He did have an incident there that probably hurt his progress last weekend. But again, yesterday he earned that 3rd place. But even by listening to him in his podium interview, he wants a lot more than that.
So Jason Aguilar trying to work his way up. He's going after this guy, Escalante. So many more stories to tell you what's going on in Supersport. Don't go anywhere.
Today's Supersport coverage is sponsored by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. And brought to you in part by Geico Motorcycle. Now through October 7th, save an additional 15% on motorcycle insurance.
Welcome back to Barber Motorsports Park. Leading us towards the racetrack is the Barber Vintage Motorsports Museum, a destination for anyone who's interested in anything that's gasoline powered or electric powered. There's a couple cars in there as well, but fantastic place to come visit and a great place to race. As we set the stage for race 2, Richie Escalante leading Sean Dillon Kelly by 35 points. So STK has lost 5 points in this one, Jay, but this morning he was pretty quick.
He was very quick in morning warm-up, so he wants to gain those 5 points back that he lost yesterday, or maybe get Brandon Posh or one of the other guys involved in that fight.
Well, Brandon Posh, his first time all season, he wasn't where he wanted to be in winner's circle. Our very own Hannah Lopa caught up with the New York native.
Greg, of the races that Brandon Posh has finished so far this season, they've all been on the podium until yesterday. Brandon, tell us a little bit about what happened out there.
Yeah, so yesterday I wound up finishing 4th. I started the race pretty strong. I was fighting at the front again and just couldn't seem to put the race together. I just started going backwards pretty quickly, and by the end I was 4th. So not where I want to be, but we're going to work today and try to go a bit better.
You're still 3rd in the point standings. How do you plan to maximize points going forward for the rest of the season?
I just can't be giving away races like that, like giving away 3rd places and 2nd places. So we just need to kind of be a bit smarter at the beginning, try and get away with them guys today, and hopefully have a big enough gap over 4th where if I do fade at the end, it's not a big problem.
We'll see you on the grid, Brandon. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, Hannah. Yeah, a little disappointed. Here's a look at Barber Motorsports Park. Jason, we go clockwise around this one. That's why you see turn 1 there. Up and down, 2.38 miles, a nice blend of rights and lefts, but a lot of elevation and banked corners. So let's get right to the Cardo track hotspots, Jason, because plenty of places to pass, and this track can be very racy for a lot of riders.
No question. You get a good drive on that front straightaway. Here's one of the prime passing opportunities. Turn 1 leads to an uphill turn 2 with a little crest in the middle of it. As they come out of here, they're going to short shift, get up over the top of this hill. Turn 4, got to have your bike set up well over the top of this hill. Otherwise, you're going to be vulnerable for that passing down here into turn number 5. Charlotte's Web, place that everybody kind of knows. Come out of here, you go down towards the Museum corner, you end up on a back straightaway, headed down into this fast 11 and 12. You're going to go left, you're going to go right up over the top of a hill, into a series of long right-handers, Greg. The last one being the slowest. You're going to come through that right-hander onto the front straightaway with this very bank left-hand corner, and that's a lap of Barber Motorsports Park.
So much fun here, physically demanding. Riders love it. Cardo track, hot spots. All right, more coming at you from Supersport. Kevin Almeido, big question mark. He woke up this morning hurt. Is he going to be able to race Benjamin Smith again today? We look forward to finding out because it was a great battle yesterday. Back at Barber Motorsports Park, motorcycles are on course. As we await the start of this race, let's take a look at the starting grid, Jason Pridmore, because Richie Escalante, 1:27.309 on pole position. Sean Dylan Kelly, of course, this happened on, Saturday, Jason? So things might be a little different today, but as we rip through the field, Benjamin Smith. What I am told is, I'd mentioned a little while ago that Kevin Almeido, who's on the second row, he woke up this morning hurt. I guess he was able to take some painkillers and stuff. It was his back.
Yeah, we heard about that yesterday too. His back was hurting him a lot, and
so he's going to make the start.
Quite a few of our 600 riders, we made mention of it yesterday. There was 5 in the top 10 that all had incidents over the course of Friday. So the fact that there's a few of them a little beaten, battered. We've had 2 weekends in a row. Let's not forget. So let's get ready to get this race going.
All right, let's get down to Hannah. Hey, Hannah.
Guys, it is a beautiful Sunday for some racing. I will point out we're about 7 degrees warmer than yesterday, so we'll see how that affects tire wear throughout the race. It's also much windier. You can see the winds picking up quite a bit. These guys will be fighting a headwind down that front straightaway.
Yeah, thanks, Hannah. That when you come to a track that doesn't have a lot of big straightaways and things, the wind isn't going to affect as much as it might in other places. The headwind coming down the front straightaway, these guys aren't really doing a lot of drafting and things, Greg, so you can get a little bit of a draft, but it's hard to get by turn 1.
I think Sean Dylan Kelly's rolling on a lot of confidence. Watch the middle part of your screen when this light goes out to see what kind of launch he's going to get. We're away. Good one by the M4X Star Suzuki rider. SDK, Brandon Posh got a good launch too. Escalante
Aguilar
getting swallowed up.
Aguilar, Greg, gets that jump that he needed. We heard him say yesterday he didn't run a very good first lap. He said Almeido went around the outside of him in this corner. Now, our third place finisher from yesterday slots in behind SDK and Brandon Posh on the run down to Charlotte's Web. First time Escalante is going to try to do something with Aguilar as they go down into that turn now.
Escalante sideways will get to third position and get it nice and tight. Meanwhile, Brandon Posh trying to get a drive out, but Escalante right on his rear wheel. Towards the museum corner we go, and it's Sean Dylan Kelly who'll lead us there, and Brandon Posh in second.
Yeah, and also Almeido was trying to get down the inside of a bunch of them. Xavier Zayat was able to turn it back up underneath him on the exit. So this is the spot SDK wants to be in. Now, in talking with his crew chief, Jeremy Toy, earlier, they said yesterday, Greg, we knew they'd make a few changes. Well, all they did is they changed a couple things with the rear shock, gearing, and wheelbase.
So that's it?
That's all. That's all they changed.
Wholesale changes.
That's a lot of changes overnight. But that said, I watched this kid this morning, and he was ripping off low to mid 27s. He went 27.3 in warm-up this morning. And keep in mind, he qualified at a 27.9. So that's looking a little bit more promising. Hopefully maybe that'll make it a little easier on tires, too, as the race wears on.
Yeah, we're talking about your race leader, Sean Dylan Kelly. In the draft comes Brandon Posh with that headwind. Not enough to get him by. Suzuki GSX-R 600 versus Yamaha R6 versus his Kawasaki Ninja ZX-6R of Escalante on that Honos Kawasaki, the black and green machine. So these are the three we normally see as you have Aguilar back there. Looks like maybe Xavier Zayat,
who came from last yesterday, if you remember. So today he was able to take his original grid spot as Escalante.
Oh, there goes Escalante.
Underneath Brandon Posh. And you look just there, Greg.
Oh, a crash.
Xavier Zayat got in too fast, and I believe that was Benjamin Smith that stood it up, and he ends up hitting Zayat as Zayat was still trying to get the bike slowed down.
That was to the right part of your screen if you missed it. No drama out front for these three, but behind them, there was an incident in Charlotte's Web. with riders, at least one rider going down.
It looks like, Greg, I'm just looking out our window, and Xavier Zayat is able to get up. That's hopefully he's going to be able to get himself off the track, okay. And you know what? That's a shame, because he'd come yesterday from last on the grid. He ran his laps. Today he got to start up in his normal grid spot. He went to go up underneath Aguilar, got it a little bit wrong, and it drug Benjamin Smith in there wide as well. And Benjamin just caught Xavier.
So Brandon Posh losing a couple bike lengths to these two out front. Sean Dillon Kelly comes across the stripe, and he will click off a 27.7. Jay, you were talking about it in the morning. 27.5 for Escalante, who was slightly quicker.
Yeah, we saw, what did we see yesterday? 26.9, I believe it was, from Richie Escalante. So we know he has the pace to get down around that 27 flat. Sometimes with new tires, a little bit of adrenaline, wouldn't be surprised to see SDK do that as well. Brandon Posh obviously made some changes too overnight. You can see here, he's still able to hang with these guys. 28.1 for him on his first real lap behind the two of these guys, and you can see just behind. Here you go, Greg. So he's in deep, Xavier, as he figures out there's probably nobody there, but Benjamin was in deep as well and trying to slow the bike down to where he couldn't hit Xavier, but he ends up just kind of clouding him. Looks like Lucas Silva got involved in that as well and ran out wide over the grass also.
That's too bad for Xavier Zayat, because he's really putting on a show as of late after coming off some great performances in New Jersey. Lap 3 of 19. M4 X-Star Suzuki, Sean Dillon Kelly, after wholesale changes made by his crew for this morning's session. Obviously, he likes it. The question becomes, will he have enough in terms of mileage on it? Meaning, as we get deeper into this race, this setup, which he enjoys, he can go fast on it. Are they going to have a tire underneath him? We know Richie Escalante has been in this position before. Into the tuck goes the 54 of Escalante. Down into turn number 1. Posh is still there. He talked to Hannah and he said he needs to just figure out how to extend this pace through the race. And he's close, but not within striking distance.
27.6 that time to the guys in front of him, 27.5 and 27.4. So Brandon's not that far off. Escalante's taking his first shot now as they go down into Charlotte's Web. He's going to get that bike stopped, get it parked, and he's going to be leading as they come out of here. STK is up underneath him, but there's a bike length or two between them. Escalante now takes to the front. Let's see where this pace goes now. Looking at the splits, they've gone purple. So this is going to be a fast lap for both these riders, as it is for Brandon Posh as well, who has set his two personal best splits in those first two splits as well. So now, this is where yesterday we saw Escalante, when he got to the front, Greg, he was able to run his own pace, his own lines. Not initially. SDK gave him some heartache, but now we're going to be able to see if they made changes overnight as well.
Yeah, it's all about watching that body language of Richie Escalante to see just how much effort he's putting into trying to split from Sean Dillon Kelly. But SDK has just put on such a display at various times this year. When he is close, he is not afraid to force the issue and to get back by just like this onto the front straightaway. SDK with a great drive and a tight line takes the spot. Retaliation from Richie Escalante on the brakes, can't do it.
The great thing is that SDK is able to go into that last corner a few feet tighter. And look what we saw this pass try to be made, or we saw it made yesterday. It was trying to be made again from Escalante. SDK does a really nice job there of shutting the door. But he's able to go into that last corner, Greg, even though he's 3, 4, 5 feet inside as Escalante gets a run as they come down into Charlotte's Web again. Not going to make it, though. But he's able to not really lose any time in that last turn and still get onto the front straightaway pretty fast enough to not even allow Escalante to go back by.
These guys are racing hard out front, Hannah.
Yeah, Jason mentioned he was wondering if Escalante made any changes to the bike overnight. They had used tires in the warm-up to plan for the last few laps, but as far as the setup goes, no changes. He is very happy with the bike. He really wants to push hard these first few laps, get a better start, and then try to take off the same way he did yesterday. But his demeanor was so casual. He's so relaxed despite how much pressure is on his shoulders this weekend.
Well, we said yesterday, and he's trying to have another look at SDK. We said yesterday that there probably wouldn't be much that they would change on that bike. He was, he'd gone 26.9, broke the lap record, I felt like it was going to be the responsibility of the teams behind to catch up to Richie. No team's ever going to sit still, but if your rider is happy with the bike, you're not going to change too much, and they didn't. Brandon Posh, really nice job getting himself back into this fight. It's looked a couple times like he was starting to lose touch ever so slightly, but he's right back on him now. The reason for that, Greg, 27.9 now for the two guys in front. Posh, 27.6.
So all three back together again. 14 laps to go in Supersport race number 2, and they're mowing the grass. What a shot. This is where Escalante likes to fire it off the inside. Oh, he's going sideways. See, Sean Dillon Kelly knows it's coming.
But I like what SDK's doing at the top of turn 4. He's letting that bike run out wide, so any drive that somebody might have behind him is going to thwart an effort going down into Charlotte's Web. It's going to make it a bigger effort for Escalante to go by. So SDK probably watched some tape last night, probably went through a few things, and he's closing the door off to places that yesterday Escalante was able to make moves.
So Brandon Posh loses a little bit of time through the museum turn.
Kind of makes he does a really good job on the last quarter of a lap, Brandon does. And here you go, Escalante now trying to go up underneath, and he's going to make this pass, Greg, as they go down into turn 12.
Beautiful move by Escalante. You could see it coming. So he'll take the spot up and over the hill and down into the very tricky and interesting 14, 15, 16 combination. This is one of those corners. It's kind of, where do I take my line? Now watch Escalante as he tries to protect the inside here, because he's already fallen under attack. So a good job by the 54. No attack from Sean Dillon Kelly. Now for SDK, he's got to keep it close. This is the part of the race yesterday where Escalante started to eke away from him.
That's right. And Escalante has tremendous corner speed as well, Greg. And so the hard part is that SDK was able to go underneath him in that last corner a couple laps ago. Escalante's going to be wise to that, and he's not going to allow that to happen probably again. If he can run one clean lap on his own and see, here he comes, SDK.
Oh, where are he going?
Yeah, he's, you know, Greg, I just feel like SDK thinks that if he lets Escalante lead for too long, this gap is going to continue. But when you have to keep trying to make up time on the brakes all of the time, it makes it pretty exhausting as a rider, and it makes it harder to not make mistakes.
Yeah, but it seems like the M4 Star Suzuki team thought about where Escalante was attacking yesterday, which was down into Charlotte's Web, and it seems like SDK's got a more stable motorcycle on that downhill braking. But unfortunately, with the amount of distance that SDK was able to make up on braking, Escalante was there, and I think that's the gap that you have right now. Escalante wasn't able to get it stopped without hitting Escalante.
No, that's exactly right. So then you overslow your speed because you're getting down to that first apex Charlotte's Web a little bit too early. Now, this is the spot right here that he's just kind of getting away. Now, this, off the back straightaway is where we've seen this pass yesterday. I don't think we saw these two go by each other there, so that's going to be a new spot for Escalante. The reason for it, Greg, is because he saw the way SDK was riding and protecting the places where he was good yesterday. Now, you talked also about setups and some of the things. We got to hope now that Sean Dillon Kelly is able to kind of keep the pressure on the best he can. Looking at the times, 26.6.
Yep,
that last time
of the race.
Fastest lap from 2 days. So 27 flat from SDK, and he's even quicker right now. So we're seeing both of these guys right actually underneath where we were last year as far as lap times go as well.
So out front, Richie Escalante just broke the race lap record around Barber Motorsports Park for a Supersport machine. Broke his own record from yesterday by 0.3 of a second. He is on fire. How about this guy, Kevin Almeido? Turned 20 years old last week from El Salvador. Woke up this morning in tremendous back pain. Didn't even know if he could start the race and was able to get some medical attention. He's doing a great job. Jason, for Kevin Almeido off the racetrack, he hasn't been home. He came here at the Barber test in March, and because of COVID, hasn't even been home, has the Altus Motorsports rider, number 16. He goes home to El Salvador tomorrow, and the biggest thing for him is he's super tight with his grandmother, and she's got a birthday coming up, and he's going to be there for it. So Kevin, who's one of the happiest guys you see in the paddock, so excited to be able to go home after being here in the U.S. Jay, when he arrived here, as he fall for a moment there, he thought Aguilar was going to get him. But Jay, when he arrived here in March, he had 4 days worth of clothes.
Wow.
And then has been here since all that time. That's a long time to be away from home for Kevin Almeido.
And Greg, all this kid's doing this year is he's putting a good solid year under his belt. He's had some bumps and bruises along the way, as you'd expect, but he pushes every time. Like you say, he's always got a smile on his face, does Kevin Almeido. And, you know, these are the kind of laps you got to keep putting in and over. We've seen him on the podium this year. We've seen him battling inside top 5 at New Jersey last week. He put in a couple of really nice rides, especially day 2, where he was in that mix for the podium there as well. Aguilar having another look as he comes down the inside there at Charlotte's Web. Almeido closes the door.
Yeah, and Greg, you mentioned he woke up this morning, Kevin Almeido, in a lot of pain. He actually skipped the warm-up session in order to rest and be better prepared for the race. They made some adjustments to the rear suspension, but he didn't get to try them in the warm-up. It seems like they're not holding him back right now. You guys also mentioned, you know, he's a really happy guy. He's always got a smile on his face, but I saw a different side of Kevin this morning. The pain is really, really getting to him. And I asked him, how do you persevere? How do you push forward through that pain? And he said, there's nothing I'd rather be doing than racing a motorcycle.
You know, it's funny, Hannah. Sometimes walking around the paddock or doing just resting can sometimes be a little bit worse. When you get out into the mix, the adrenaline definitely does take over. I know it sounds cliche to say that, but it really does. And you kind of will yourself through the laps that you've got to put in.
You saw that Jason Aguilar had a really big issue with the bike swapping ends. I think he maybe clipped a curb, and that's created the gap as Aguilar pushing hard, trying to find his way past Kevin Almeido and get back into the 4th place points paying position. But Almeido's doing a great job at the moment. 28.9. So for Kevin Almeido, Jason, only 9/10 of a second off of his fastest time of the race so far. But what we do know is out front, Sean Dillon Kelly just set the fastest split in sector number 1, trying to chase down Richie Escalante.
Dude, yeah, it's great. He's got no give up. And Escalante, the thing about Richie that's really great is that he's able to get out there, and when he gets into his rhythm, Escalante is really hard to beat because he does carry a lot of corner speed, and we've seen him just mature as a rider as well. So these two guys are still going out on the left-hand side of your screen. You can see Aguilar catches that curbing on the way in, Greg, makes him late to this right-hander, and he fell some probably 0.6, 0.7 behind from that little mistake. It's going to ruin his drive out of there, but you can see now he is back on the back of Almeido as they head down to turn 12.
Jason Aguilar, podium position yesterday, trying to find his way around Kevin Almeido. So far, it's been follow the leader since we've had them in our screen.
Aguilar's trying to make a big, yeah, he's going to make it.
Stands up, Kevin Almeido. So onto the front straightaway, Aguilar will take the spot. Now we'll see what kind of pace he has. We know he was able to catch him, but Jay, it's one thing to catch somebody, it's another thing to pass and check out. So Almeido will get a chance to see what Jason Aguilar, the 96, has in the tank. Aguilar in that Riders Law, Aguilar Racing Yamaha R6 up into 4th spot.
Almeido runs just a little bit wide in turn 2 there as they come out down turn 3 up over this rise, and it looks like Aguilar's just trying to, we've seen this before though. Kevin tricked me last week because I thought that maybe I can't remember who had gotten in front of him last week, but he kind of looked back and we thought for a second, all right, you know, maybe he's done with the fight. Next thing you know, he's fighting like he always does. So Almeido will go to school now on Jason Aguilar, kind of find out where he can be a little bit better.
Jason Aguilar told me he feels really good under hard braking, which is probably beneficial to him in some of the stop and go turns. But he said, you know, tire wear yesterday was a bit of a struggle toward the end of the race. He made a small change to the rear of the motorcycle. He wouldn't tell me what it was, but to help with the last few laps. So keep an eye on him toward the end of this race.
Yeah, well, that'll
racers
be good
being a little cagey,
yeah,
right?
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
So Jason Aguilar working always on the motorcycle to get it to go quicker, he and his crew. He's got it right now, but, you know, if you look at Kevin Almeido and you think he's in a lot of pain, the question is, Jay, how hard do you push as Kevin Almeido? You know, why not just let Jason Aguilar lead, see if you have the pace, and then try to attack when you catch your breath towards the end of this race? As for this guy, Richie Escalante, a 1:26.8, Jason, last time by the stripe. His best is a 26.6.
He's pounding out 26s
pounding,
right now.
Pounding him out. So he did a 26.921 in yesterday's race. Now keep in mind, little bit different conditions in terms of there was no sun on the track, and these Dunlop tires absolutely love heat in the racetrack. But right now, watching Richie Escalante continuously running around race lap record pace here at Barber Motorsports Park for Supersport machines is impressive. All the while, Sean Dillon Kelly, no slouch himself, at 27 flat is his best. So he was right there at that track record set yesterday by Escalante, and still in the 27s, 27.5. So SDK is continuing to put the pressure on. Yeah, it's 3 seconds back, but Escalante with his pit board is going to know that the SDK 40 is right there.
Yeah, and SDK, he's going to be able to go back and be happy that the changes that they made this morning, they've seen it, that it has made the bike better. They did make some positive progress this morning. Unfortunately, this guy's just got about 2-3 tenths a lap right now underneath him that's able to get away. And you can see, good look at his pit board there, letting him know 7 to go, +3. And obviously everybody wants to see that P1.
Yeah, and if you're new to racing, that pit board is the only way that we can communicate with riders. They come across the front straightaway on the pit wall, and that is between the rider and the crew as to what information they want to see. Jay, going back to your career, what did you like to see on your pit board?
I usually didn't do a countdown until about 10 to go, and then I like to have plus and whoever was maybe behind me at that point.
So for Richie Escalante, keeps it nice and simple, the communication of it all. And I'll tell you one thing that's very interesting, Jason, is you also know when you get a pit board how close your competitor is behind you. These are games that are being played by the crew. For instance, if no pit boards are out because there's people 20 seconds behind you,
yep,
who's going to put the pit board out? But if I was the M4X Star Suzuki crew of Sean Dillon Kelly, I would have my pit board out by the time Richie Escalante came, so you can kind of play that mental game as a crew on pit wall.
Yeah, you can see there he's got L6 P2. A lot of times these guys know right around what place they're in, and especially up in the front here. But keep it simple. But I know what you're saying, Greg. It was always a little bit distracting if you saw your competitor's board getting thrown out as you were coming onto the front straightaway, thinking, is he catching me or is he not catching me? And no matter what, when you are out front of a race, your mind starts sometimes will play games on you, and you'll think, did it say +5 or +0.5, and those kind of things. So you'll even see riders look back with big gaps, because sometimes you just can't believe the gap that you have. And right now we're looking at 4.2, and he's consistency. Here's the difference, Greg, from yesterday. A bunch of 27s, and then we saw it 6.6. Then look at the consistency in those 26s all the way down through the last lap that he just went through.
It's unbelievable. And you can see on lap 7, the green one, that was his fastest lap of the race, setting that race lap record for Barber Motorsports Park in Supersport. There's another thing here that Barber Motorsports Park offers, Jason, and that is a scoring pylon that's right in the middle of the track. And I know when you raced here, that was also an indicator it gave you an idea. You could glance up at that scoring pylon right in the middle of the racetrack as you're riding around to find out who is behind you, who's in front of you.
Yeah, you can definitely see it. It's right in the middle, and there's a couple spots that make it actually really easy to see. Even coming out of where SDK is now, it'd be on his right. But coming up over that brow of the hill in turn 4, that big board is smack right in front of you, and so you can't see it. And it's a great way for the fans to be able to see where their favorite rider is and what place they're in, and so on. So SDK right now still operating in the 27s. By this time yesterday, he was in the 28s. So his race is definitely going to be faster.
So for Sean Dillon Kelly, though, as he sees Richie Escalante sail off into the sunset, thinking about that championship, it's going to be another 5 points for Richie Escalante if Sean Dillon Kelly cannot figure out a way. There's in the middle of the track, that scoring pylon that we're talking about, that riders can actually see. This is one of those tracks we go to where we are actually outside of the racetrack looking in, but one of the most spectator-friendly road courses that we go to in the world.
Yep.
Barber Motorsports Park.
No question. The way the facility's laid out is really, really nice. And, I know we sound like a broken record, but if you're a motorcycle fan at all, you got to get here to this museum. There's nothing really quite like the museum that they have here, and get to enjoy it. Obviously the weather today is perfect, and get some good racing in as well.
And that's the corner that Richie Escalante is in and out of. Left part of your screen was the museum, as Escalante just doing a phenomenal job right now. Only 0.4 of a second off of his best, a 27 flat last time by. You can see they're into some lap traffic. There are blue flags that fly to indicate to those riders that the faster paced riders are coming through the backdrop of the museum. So Sean Dillon Kelly, Jason, after this race, we only have 4 races to go. And if it stays the way it is right now, the advantage is going to be Richie Escalante by 40. Now, keep in mind, for Sean Dillon Kelly, 18 years old, this is only his second season in MotoAmerica competition. And the thing that has got to stand out to everyone when you watch this young man race is how good of a motorcycle racer he is. How smart he is in the moves that he's going to make to try to keep his competition behind him. But there's only so much you can do when you just don't have a motorcycle set up to match the speed of Richie Escalante.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to see him make the jump whenever that jump does come on to 1,000. I think SDK's future is pretty bright, obviously, wherever he decides to go, whatever he decides to do. But for sure, I think when he does get on 1,000, he's plenty experienced enough, plenty fast enough now, and that'll be a nice jump to see him make when that time comes.
So it's Richie Escalante is now 6 seconds ahead of Sean Dillon Kelly, who we're looking at M4X Star Suzuki. Celtic Racing HSBK, Brandon Posh in third, Aguilar in fourth, Almeido in fifth, Nate Minster in sixth, Nolan Lampkin in seventh. Lucas Silva has moved past Jarrett Nassani, as well as Alejandro Thermiotis in ninth. Jarrett Nassani is now in 10th. Benjamin Smith, who we thought was going to be up there a little bit closer to the front after a great race yesterday in 11th.
Well, we saw him get caught up in that incident with Xavier Zaya, as did Lucas Silva. So I'm not sure if Benjamin actually has a bigger problem, only because it looked like he was able to keep going, and Lucas was actually quite a ways behind Benjamin. So unless Benjamin made another small mistake somewhere, looking at his lap time by 29.4, he's quite a bit quicker than the guys in front of him, which kind of tells me maybe we made a mistake somewhere else a lap or two ago, because he's 3 seconds quicker than the guy in front of him. So, we'll have to see if Benjamin can make up that some more of that time.
All the while watching Miami, Florida's Sean Dillon Kelly. The story of how he got involved in racing. A lot of times you'll hear stories of my dad raced, my mom raced, I had an uncle who raced, I was somehow involved. With Sean Dillon Kelly, no one in the family raced. Went to a local go-kart track because ever since he was a little boy, he's been interested in anything with a motor. Went to a local go-kart track down in Miami, Florida. He was too small to get into the cars, and someone said, here, why don't you try a pocket bike? He got on a pocket bike and started ripping. And that started his career into motorcycle road racing.
Yeah, everybody gets started differently for sure.
And of course, he caught the eye of the Ulrich family, Team Hammer, M4X Star Suzuki Foundation. And now Sean Dillon Kelly flying the Supersport flag for this team. Second in this championship for SDK in 13 races. He's had 12 podium finishes, including 3 wins on the season. The first one, the most painful, that DNF for Sean Dillon Kelly way back at Road America. I barely remember that, huh, Jason?
Yeah, that was a bad one, but he's had 3 wins under his belt this year. I know this kid's hungry. He wants to get a lot more out of himself, out of the bike and everything else. But yeah, I mean, he's doing the best he can, Greg. And I'm still looking at his times. He's still in the 27s, which is faster than yesterday. We're going to pan back a little bit now. We're going to look for Brandon Posh. Brandon's solid third place right now. He's got a big gap over Aguilar. So
Jason, take us in the mindset of riders and crews. When you're in this situation, when you have a gap, you have 7.5 seconds from Escalante to Sean Dillon Kelly, another 8 seconds back to Brandon Posh. What's the plan now? What are you thinking about at this part of the race?
Well, it's frustrating because you know that you've got a huge gap on guys behind you. You're not going to get caught. More importantly, you're a little bit bummed because you see these other guys just kind of disappearing, and Brandon just wasn't able to sustain that pace that he showed early on in the race. 27.5 is his best lap time. Only a half second off of SDK, but some 0.9 second off of Escalante. So they may have made some changes. As you can see, Escalante working his way through some back markers at the moment. Those guys will have all seen the blue flags and kind of pulled up. So Escalante had a big pack of them to go through. I saw him when he came down this front straightaway out of our window. You see there's 4 or 5 of them coming down the straightaway. He went by all of them as he gets the white flag, Greg, right now. Escalante 28.2 that time by, even going through all this traffic. But this guy's been around a long time, G-Dub. Escalante has. We've seen him on other teams and bikes and such. Never really has a bad thing to say about anybody at all. You listen to him speak even after the races. Last week in Jersey when he finishes third, he was happy enough with where he got. But I don't know. You know, when you look at the bike and the team, we haven't really seen a Kawasaki run up front for a long time. So it was a little bit of a change or a challenge for him maybe going into the year. And I'm sure there were some questions that he wasn't sure were going to be, that this was going to be the right program for him. But it definitely has worked out.
25 years old, Richie Escalante, like Jason said, has been around a while. From Tizayuca, Mexico. All this kid focuses on is just working all the time. You see him, he's never sitting still in his pit. He's always doing something, whether it's stretching or a little bit of exercise, thinking about racing. Absolutely loves it. He did step away at one point in his career a couple of years ago for a year to reassess and reevaluate his life and where he wanted to go. And ultimately, it landed right back on motorcycle road racing. And now all the hard work, the dedication, the ups and downs in racing is paying off for Richie Escalante. To the checkered flag, and he takes another win in 2020, the 11th for Richie Escalante in his Honos Kawasaki. Sean Dylan Kelly comes across the stripe, solidly in second place, and another 20 points. And here comes the 21 of Brandon Posh out of Brooklyn, New York, on the Celtic HSBK Racing Yamaha. So once again, Kawasaki, Suzuki, and Yamaha will fill the podium. And Jason Aguilar, another solid finish for him. So third and fourth on the weekend. And this battle.
Well, yeah, Lucas Silva I think he just actually, went by Thermiotis there. So these guys are, let's see, he had the lead. Thermiotis was ahead of him going into this lap. So Lucas has actually caught him and passed him and gotten through.
Yeah, this looks like it's going to be for possibly 8th place. Nolan Lampkin up the road a bit. We haven't seen Nolan Lampkin come across the stripe. He comes across, so Thermiotis trying to get back around. And Lucas Silva will hold on and take it 8th place. Thermiotis in 9th by 36 thousandths of a second. Benjamin Smith in 10th spot.
Yeah, Benjamin was catching those guys at like a second or so a lap. And so, we'll have to find out. But a good run for Thermiotis there, getting in the top 10. Like seeing that. But this guy right now, Greg, is a little bit unstoppable. So we're going to have to, when we get to Indy, it's going to be a new track for everybody when we get to Indianapolis. All these guys. And I know they're going to want to try to figure out, everybody's doing wheelies on this straight because we have a big contingent of fans over there up on the hill.
That's right. October 9th through 11th, we're going to be at Indianapolis Motor Speedway at the MotoAmerica Superbikes at the Brickyard. With only 4 rounds left in Supersport this season. Can't believe how quickly this season is winding down. So for Richie Escalante, waves all around as he makes his way to victory lane. We'll do the same thing when we get back to Barber Motorsports Park.